Now let's talk about the latest news poll. Labor has increased its lead over the coalition, with Anthony Albanese edging closer towards retaining a majority. Labor leads the coalition 52 to 48, two-party prefers. This actually mirrors the 2022 federal election result. In terms of the primary votes, support for the coalition has dropped 1 point to 36%. Labor remains unchanged on 33%. Peter Dutton, however, has managed to close Anthony Albanese's lead as preferred Prime Minister to just 8 points. Look, Prue, it's early days. We've only had 1 week of the campaign. We've still got a month to go. Peter Dutton does have a mountain to climb here. From the offset, he always did. But how do you interpret that data?
Well, I think it's part of the reason why, he's not communicating well. I'm glad that the debate's on tomorrow night on Sky, because I'm really hoping that he shows up how inept really Anthony Albanese is. But their messaging is not clear. He doesn't ram home. Thank God last week he was at a petrol bowser. Surely they should be exploiting that more, that the cut to fuel excise is going to help everything, not just the people driving cars at home, not the people who aren't paying, it's going to help the people who aren't even paying tax, who are going to get a piddling 70, who weren't going to get the 70% tax relief from Labor in 15 months' time. But, the fact that the fuel excise is down means it's going to, snowball into the delivery vans. The cost of everything we buy is impacted by the cost of fuel. So I think it's one that he needs to push and push. And the other one that he's just sort of let go to the keeper is the gas reserve.
Yes.
We know that we need a gas reserve. And if we had more gas, then we can, we know that the renewables are going to, be augmented. We're going to have more reliable, cheaper fuel, and it buys us time while the nuclear plan is.
Well, I think he's going to release the costings and how it's going to work, and I'm sure that he will, but now's probably the time. Look, I want to talk to you about tariffs, because the impact of Donald Trump's tariffs have hit the markets. Wall Street is down more than 10%, or US $9 trillion in just 2 days. The Aussie dollar has hit a 5-year low, now close to 60 US cents. That's actually surpassing the low recorded at the start of the pandemic. And there have been massive losses across global share markets. Look, Prue, obviously this is not good, but we knew this was going to happen. It was foreshadowed. The thing is that Donald Trump's not going to renege on this. He's going all out on unilateral tariffs.
Oh, totally. And we've seen now China's response, which is over the top. But I think people are reading the fact that, inflation is going to hit around the world, certainly in America with what Trump's done. China, the whole works. So we are in for a bad economic time, which is all the more reason why we should make sure Albanese's in. But when you look at it from an exporter's point of view, the fact that the dollar's gone down, we are more competitive. I hear the Bitcoin's going up even more. So maybe I think that people know that with the fluctuations in the share market, where everyone's sort of panicking, it's a great time to buy if you have some cash and just relax. It'll come back again. I just think that people have this situation where they are panic merchants. They're reading the news. They're seeing the protests in America, which is more about the fact that people hate Trump. The repercussions of his tariffs are yet to be, discovered. We are all a bit anxious about it, but I just think, chill, everybody. It's not so bad.
In the end, he was elected on America First, wasn't he? So he's going ahead with his America First plan, whether or not the world likes it or not.
He said he was doing tariffs.
He said he was doing tariffs. They knew this. It shouldn't come as any surprise. Now, let's move on, because major Adelaide roads will get artificial intelligence cameras aimed at cutting traffic and boosting economic activity. The South Australian government believes every 5,000 motorists stuck in traffic for 20 minutes cost the state economy $33,000. Now, this trial will involve the cameras analysing congestion and tweaking traffic light cycles. I actually like this idea personally, Prue, because if we can actually get traffic moving, sometimes when you're stuck in traffic lights and you're like, come on, for goodness sake, move it along, move it along. I think that this is a good idea, but I will say, does this not point to a bigger problem? That infrastructure has not been carefully prepared for the future. We have a growing population.
Well, this is the problem. Look, I see your point. It drives me nuts when I'm stuck at a red light in traffic. There's no other traffic. You think, what the hell?
Yeah.
But I think it would be more intelligent to be spending that money on getting the infrastructure right. We know that with this ridiculous migrant intake that we have, every city in Australia, every town in Australia is really, not coping. And we need to have money spent on infrastructure. So sure, let's do it, try, let's see how it goes. But in the end, the intelligence should come from the people who are making decisions about infrastructure, as far as I'm concerned.
It's the big Australia policy that nobody voted for at work. We've got a booming population, which means congestion on the roads. You're spot on. Prue MacSween, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me on the show this evening.